Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming. Welcome. I apologize for the short delay, but this is, I'm sure you know while you're all here, Bear Hole is a gem for West Springfield. Over the past 2 years, we went through the process of getting the CR and doing the work and talking about the management plan, which we're here to discuss tonight and want to hear from you. But as you all know, and Mark and Al, where's Al? Oh, Al's over here. Sorry. Great job in Bear Hole with the 10K too. I ran it today.
That's good.
But this process has been going on for more than a decade to actually protect Bear Hole, get the CR in place, and make sure that in perpetuity the land will stay as it is. So this is the next step in that process. As part of that CR is to create a management plan, and in doing that, we want to hear from the public, hear from the users that are using Bear Hole, that love Bear Hole, to see what you want to do, what your concerns are, and what you want to do moving forward. And now, this isn't a end of the world thing right now. It's going to be a moving process over the next 5-10 years. We'll be changing and altering it, but we want to hear from you as we move this forward. In front of you here, we have members of the steering committee, which I'm sure will introduce themselves after. I'm going to kick it over to Kevin in a second, who's our chair from the Conservation Commission. But we got members from the public that are heavily involved and have been involved throughout the process and involved in town for many years to help us kind of steer this process along. And then if you have ideas afterwards, there's an email you can send us to too if you don't feel comfortable talking tonight or you think of something when you go home later, but that's available as well. And with that, Kevin, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thanks very much. So quick intro for everyone. This is the Bear Hole Steering Committee. We're an ad hoc committee appointed by the mayor to provide advice regarding Bear Hole. A couple of things. Tonight's meeting is being recorded. We're up there in the big screen. If everyone else here is recording the meeting, just please identify yourself for the record.
Abigail Taylor was Springfield record.
You're recording?
Yep, I'm recording.
Thank you. Okay. So a couple of things to talk about tonight. We have 2 plans this committee is going to be working on. So one is what we'll refer to as the town plan. This is a plan that we have to submit as part of the conservation restriction that we use to protect Bear Hole. So it's a plan that we're required to submit, and that's what we're really focused on here. There is a fact sheet that has some additional information about that. There's also a master plan. The management plan, the town plan focuses on like the land use, like our vision for stewardship and things like that. The master plan is a little bit more administrative, so financial oversight, enforcement, administrative planning, those kinds of things. So as you think about this, we've got 2 tasks in front of us. The master plan is the long-term task. Tonight we're focused on the town plan. That's something we have to submit to the owners of the conservation restriction and get approved, and that's what we're looking for feedback on from everyone tonight. I mentioned the fact sheet. If you haven't gotten a chance, there's a stack of them up here when you come in, and it provides a little bit of information. One thing I want to point out is that on the back, there's a list of prohibited and permitted activities. So if there's something on the prohibited list, that's not something we can change. So if you're here to lobby for us to build a casino, you can't do it. Okay, it's not going to happen. So please do reference that. You might have questions about, will we do this or would you do that? You can take a quick look there. That might cross a few of your questions off right away. So I just want to make sure you have awareness of that resource. Attorney O'Brien Scott mentioned it earlier. If you'd like to speak, just ask that everyone signs in, and we'll just take public comment in the order that everyone signed in. And then in terms of if you're coming up to speak, we're going to ask that we give everybody an opportunity to speak. So if you could limit it to just a few minutes, we'd appreciate that. That way everyone will get a chance and we won't stay here too late tonight. And then last but not least, the primary thing that this committee is going to do tonight is turn our ears on and we're going to listen. This is our opportunity to hear from more of the public about what you'd like to see. That's what we're focused on, is getting your feedback. So we may ask some clarifying questions, but really we're here to listen, and we're excited to hear about your ideas, thoughts, visions, and desires for Bear Hole. All right, so with that, Kate, do I have a list?
Yeah, do you want to introduce the committee members?
Oh, yeah, thank you. Sorry. I should have started with that. I'll give everybody a chance to introduce themselves to the record, and I'm going to start here. Mr. Whalen.
My name is Joe Whalen.
Ed Shibley.
I'm Jennifer Dugan.
Kevin Cote.
Al Cabot.
Kathy Breck.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for the reminder, Kate.
So we did receive one comment via email that I agreed to read into the record, so I will do that.
Oh,
Waiting
thank
for
you.
this list.
So this was an email that came into the Bear Hole Steering Committee at townofwestspringfield.org email. That's where everybody, if you want to submit written comments, you're free to do that. It goes to the entire committee. So this came in this afternoon. Dear Bear Hole Steering Committee, although not a resident of West Springfield, I write representing the Appalachian Mountain Club, AMC, requesting that this comment be read at tonight's forum in lieu of my attendance. AMC was thrilled that the town of West Springfield permanently protected the Bear Hole landscape, a critical link in an extensive wildlife corridor from central Connecticut to the Holyoke Range, and a beloved destination for low-impact recreation activities. By selling a conservation restriction on the property to DCR and Mass Audubon in 2021, the culmination of years of work from town residents, staff, and partners. AMC manages and maintains the New England National Scenic Trail in Massachusetts in collaboration with a network of volunteers, the National Park Service, and the many public and private landowners along the trail corridor. Within Bear Hole, for more than 3 miles, the NET is a 215-mile-long distance hiking trail that spans from the Long Island Sound to the Mass and New Hampshire border. The NET is a close-to-home trail which millions of residents throughout the Connecticut River Valley can easily access. As the town of West Springfield develops a master plan to guide future decision-making related to the uses of Bear Hole, I encourage the town and its partners to continue allowing passive recreation on the property's existing trails, including the NET, and to improve public access points and amenities for passive recreation where feasible. Moreover, I encourage the town to incorporate a plan for preventing incompatible uses, particularly off-road vehicle use, into the master plan. As the manager and maintainer of the NET, AMC would be happy to collaborate with the town on trail improvements and other projects related to the NET. Thank you for protecting this valuable resource for wildlife and people. I look forward to continuing to work with the town to ensure a high-quality trail experience for visitors to Bear Hole. Best, Liam Cragen, New England Trail Coordinator, Appalachian Mountain Club.
Excellent, thank you. All right. Our first sign-in was from Heather Brennan. Hey, Heather, would you like to step up to the podium? And
I don't know that I actually have a series of questions. I thought you would do a quick briefing about where you're headed, and then we would have questions, but that's not the forum. We just get up and ask questions.
yeah, I mean, so we did put out the fact sheet to try and preempt that a bit, but get right up and ask whatever questions you have.
Okay. So you tried to clarify earlier that tonight was not about the master plan, the administrative side. So the $1 million is not a discussion this stuff tonight, and that whole oversight and the enforcement of how that land is going to be managed is not a part of tonight?
Correct, there's gonna be a separate public forum on the master plan.
Okay, so this is just what uses should or should not be included?
Yes.
For the handout?
Yeah, if you think about the conservation restriction, there's certain things that it allows and prohibits, and so the town plan is kind of like the next level of detail. So what are the things that, what is the vision that the town has for this property? What are the things that we might want to do, whether it's, inventorying all the flora and fauna, or how we want to manage the land? Are there areas we want to do more things to protect or preserve or enhance, or what uses we might want to
Okay, so I guess my first question is, what committees that already exist are part of this, or feed information to this organization? Because you have the environmental committee, you have a bunch of committees that already do a lot of these things, so do they feed into your master plan, or is that part of the draft review process that those groups will then find themselves involved?
So none of the committees within town are like subordinate to, report to. What will inform this committee will be community input. So if folks, some folks are on the environment, Al's on the environmental committee.
Correct.
I'm on the conservation committee.
Correct.
But, we're here obviously out of our interest, but everything that this committee decides and advises the mayor on will be based on, one, our purviews, and then what we get from people in town, whether they're, on any other committees or not.
Okay, so I will just start with my own personal preferences. As far as fishing and motorized, non-motorized boating, is that going to be something that you're interested in?
Are you
offering?
interested in it?
Absolutely not.
No, okay.
Absolutely not. I walk through the park regularly, and I have dogs that go with me. And already we're stepping on left lures, line in the trees, broken equipment. There's always trash. You know, there's a handful of folks that walk through the park regularly and constantly pick up, you know, and try to carry material out of the park regularly because we're in there all the time. But there is another handful of people that go through, use the park, and then leave detritus everywhere. So I guess that's the issue for fishing, is that everywhere I've ever lived, fishing involves, gee, that's fun to catch a fish, but how is that value added to Bear Hole? It's a fixed lake. Are you going to stock it? Are you going to encourage it? Are you going to have filtration systems? Are we going to have fish with bacteria that we're asking people to fish? I mean, there's a lot of questions about fishing.
And you're opposed.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it sounds like trash is a major concern for you.
I think everybody in town knows that, yes. I would say that's yes. Every day I go by and pick up bags of trash, every day, no matter what trail I take. So secondarily, I think we've talked about this for, I don't know, 2 or 3 years. The rapid influx of new bike trails everywhere, regardless of the habitat that they decide to ride their bikes on. There are existing trails, which everybody said, okay, go ahead and ride your bikes. But now there's a zillion new trails that were, I don't know how they're authorized or who authorized them, but there doesn't seem to be a process that's known. I don't know it. But if there is a process, what is it, and how many more bike trails are you going to offer? And then there's the extension of that discussion. I don't want to badmouth bikers. I like to bike, but there's right-of-way rules and things like that. So if you're walking and you're passively in there and there's 50 bikers coming towards you, I mean, there has to be some discussion as to, are you going to isolate paths? These are bike trail paths, these are hiking paths. Are you going to isolate them? Because right now, all you have is people getting mad at each other regularly.
One of the things I'll say is, you know, when this whole process kicked off a while ago, Audubon did a study, and that was one of the things they identified that we've read, and I think a lot of the members would agree. There's too many trails, unmanaged, and that's an issue. It makes it hard to. You can get lost pretty easy. So that was an issue they raised and identified in that report, and that is definitely something that's on the list.
Right,
of,
but they
it needs to be addressed.
They continue to propagate. There is a group of people in town or out of town that are allowed to propagate trails. How, why, when does it end? When do we truly address it? That's my real question. It is not a new question. It's been out there for a long time.
Yes.
Okay, so that's my question. When does it get modified? When does it get addressed? And I like biking, but I stay on paved trails intentionally because being on dirt in bad weather erodes the trails and pulls them down the hill and all that kind of stuff. So there has to be a bigger picture about if it's a CR and you're going to preserve it, then those rules have to be enforced in those physical areas. Okay, That's my point on that one. I think bicycles would be my only pet peeve at this point. And then there's a one-liner in here about increasing storage and parking and all that kind of access. So is there a discussion that we're going to change some of the intersections where people currently park? Or down at the Bear Hole main parking entrance? I know they extended that, but it's unpaved. Then there's all the homes on Bear Hole Road that get impacted regularly by this. And then there's the Four Corners up there that gets beat up quite regularly too. So I don't think any of that's new news, right? So is all that under the discussion of this committee? What you're
Yeah,
going to do with those intersections? How are you going to improve those? What is your planned throughput for the park? I mean, what's the goal with the planned throughput for this park? And then what can it truly sustain? Because even at its current usage, personally, I find that it's getting ruined from the perspective of can it sustain wildlife with all the trash that's currently in it and moving around. I mean, I can only carry out so much a day, but there's no day that I don't come out of there with trash. So I guess I have bigger questions about the overall management, I guess, which is the other plan.
Well, I think some of that's germane. I mean, the concerns you're raising are around, you know, what's getting done to ensure we got right cleanup. Is there something you would want to see in terms of access? You mentioned that. You mentioned the parking areas.
Well, I've lived in a lot of places around the world, and just like the Eastern States Exposition, if you can get a little town pass, you get like a discount. You put it on your car. I don't know if anybody's ever done it, but you get a discount ticket. And you get annual access if you want to go to Storton Village or any of the other things in the off years, so off-season. But you get a little pass on your windshield, and you pay for it. Are you going to plan to charge for parking for non-residents? Because everywhere, a lot of places I've lived, there was a parking fee, and if there wasn't, there was a daily fee. And you just dropped your money in a little safe box, and the park ranger came by and picked it up. And that funded the cleanup, the regular trash removals, nobody was being, you weren't getting tickets on your windshield or something. It wasn't that aggressive, but, you had to put if you had the sticker, they left you alone. If you didn't have the sticker, they came and they saw you and said, hey, did you put your $5 or $4, whatever it was. But there's a park usage fee,
Okay.
that kind of thing. And that helped maintain and kept the residents, because you're already paying taxes. So I guess my last question would be, for the other plan, what is the tax impact for residents to maintain and keep Bear Hole? Like, is that going to impact people?
Okay.
Okay, so I guess that's it for me.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. All right. I think someone was, I don't know if there's a GDU out there, or if they were just scribbling to get the ink to run on the pen. All right. I had a Tom Wigan, but Tom crossed his name out. Tom doesn't want to talk?
Yeah, no, thank you.
Okay.
I misunderstood. I thought I was just signing in.
Oh, no worries. That's fine. Todd Stiglinski?
Is this on?
Sure is.
Okay, several of you know I'm very committed well before 2008 with Bear Hole. I've seen it progress from basically being the Wild West into a much tamer and much more welcoming place today, thanks in large part to civic engagement with the town. I would like to see that civic engagement continue. I would imagine it would. I can't imagine Town Hall saying, no, we don't want to hear from community groups with something like this. But, on a positive, because we always kind of tend to think on the negative, that I think the people of West Springfield collaborating, whether it's the mayor's office, with the police, with the DPW, whoever it might be, all that energy has helped make Bear Hole what it is today. And I want to see that collaborative approach going. I've done an awful lot of work with the DPW, who is managing the land right now, with the police department, getting police patrols out there, which I met with Chief Camperchani back when he was here, because we didn't have police patrols and the place was a mess. So I want to keep that goodness going. I have a handful of things that I'd like to rattle off. One is at the Bear Hole Road parking area where the stone pillars are. The environmental committee that I'm part of is in the process of pursuing a project to install a gateway entry trail kiosk, which would kind of give a welcome information to the property, as well as public notices. For example, if there's a trail run, if you want to put something up there, no hunting, if you have an emergency situation, who do you contact? You have concerns about trash, whatever it might be, you know what I mean? So one side of it would be kind of a welcome to Bear Hole, this is what it's all about, the cultural and all that good stuff, and then the other side is public notices. So we'd like to see that move ahead, and I know under the CR, there's a process in order to get that done. I spoke with Kate briefly when I walked in. It doesn't seem like it's going to be, a big deal. Just kind of dotting your I's and crossing your T's type of thing. It's not going to be something, I don't think that it's going to take like 6 months. I don't want to back her into a corner court or anything, but it seems like, it would move along relatively quick. Heather mentioned managing the illegal trails. It's very, very disturbing to me to see the plethora, the pure explosion over the last few years of the illegal trails, people emailing me on what they're witnessing. I see people in the woods dressed in camouflage doing trails. I see them, they see me, and they drop to the ground military style being covert, so they're not, so supposedly they're not detected. To me, that indicates they're doing something they're not supposed to. I do authorized trail maintenance out there. I don't hide. I don't run off into the woods like a Sasquatch. You know, these are some of the type of stuff that gets relayed to me. And it, you know, I don't want to be sexist or anything, but a lot of it is women that are emailing me. I'm scared. Who are these people? Why are they running off into the woods? Why are they ducking down to the ground when I see them? I get it. You know, I can definitely see that if you're out there, you know, by yourself or with your kids or with your dog or something, how that would be discerning. So, you know, I've brought it up to the town, including the mayor, in regards to the trails, and the mayor is all for, let's shut those down. But the problem is getting the resources in motion to make that happen. So it's good, yeah, we understand that there's illegal trails. We understand that they're cutting through critical, very sensitive habitat in a lot of places, including vernal pools, which are protected, are protected under state law.
So Todd, a couple of things I want to clarify.
Yep.
I hear the concern. It sounds like one of the things you want to make sure gets addressed is a plan for, enforcing and protecting the rules and
Yeah,
the
that-
guidelines that get established around
That comes back, I think, to a mix with policing too. The police department, they're out there in a regular schedule. I don't have a log of what they've dealt with over the last year, this season, the 2022 season so far, but they are out there. And the problem is that Bear Hole's a tough place, and I know the police have their staffing issues, and they've got stuff that they've got to navigate through. But I'd like to see it start earlier in the season, because the off-roaders like to try and squeeze every which way they can when it's mudding season and rip the place up. So I think if we started the police patrols out there a little earlier, I don't care if they're walking, if they're doing a mountain bike, I don't think their UTV would probably make much sense, because if the ATVs and the dirt bikes are ripping things up, the UTV is too. I mean, they can use their common sense. And also extend their patrols as late as they can into the season. Historically, it pretty much fizzles out like around the Big East season. I've been advocating for that to be extended, and so far, I guess it is being extended. I haven't gotten any feedback from Sergeant Wise, who oversees Bear Hole Policing, that things have stopped. He and I have a good open line of communication with what's going on out there. And we talk about people that are doing things out there that shouldn't. The DPW has installed trail cams monitoring the parking areas. The trail cams get vandalized. Why do they get vandalized? Why do people pull them down? Well, because people are out there doing what they're not supposed to. What they're doing, I don't know. I can't comment on that, but that's just food for thought, that you do have people out there, obviously, that don't want to be seen. They're driving by the cameras and they're flipping them off, and doing obscene gestures type of thing. I'd like to see more strengthened interdepartment collaboration with managing Bear Hole, because, you have Conservation Commission that would oversee what you guys do. And you've got the police, and you've got the DPW, but with the DPW, you've got Trevor with operations, but you also have Jeff Auer with the water division. So there's a lot of hands in the pot, and I don't think all the time that they all are in sync with what's going on. I don't think everything that goes on out there involves every single one of those departments, but I think, if there was better interdepartment communication between those, I think it would help accomplish some common goals out there.
I think, Todd, what you're saying all makes a lot of sense, but it's also going to be part of the master plan, the master plan, not what we're trying to get to today as far as.
Well, my understanding today, Alan Cabot, is that we are discussing ideas on how to better manage the property, correct?
Well,
moving forward, trying to
more-
set a vision.
More to set some priorities as far as what might be important for individuals, so.
Right.
if-
Well, I
if-
think
if-
protecting
if-
habitat through regulating illegal trails is important.
And
Policing is
Heather said-
important.
Heather said-
Interdepartment collaboration is important. The mountain bike group. Go ahead. You want to talk?
No, I was going to say, as far as the policing, the enforcement, and the coordination with the town,
Right.
that's not something we have to give. What we're trying to do is to put together a document that's gonna meet the requirements of Audubon and DCR.
Right, but that intercollaboration is
They don't-
part of land management.
They don't care how the town, they do care, but they, as far as this document is concerned,
Right.
it's not gonna be addressing how the town goes about enforcing, how large the fines might be, who would
I'm not interested
impose
in that, 'cause
them.
that's already
Well,
established.
that's enforced, well, there could be different parts to that that might help. I mean, so that's all gonna be something that the town has to do as part of the master plan for the organization and the handling of it. So what you're telling me is the protection and the police protection and the illegal uses are something you want to focus on, and I understand that. But as far as we're not going to be writing into this plan those specific steps that the town
My
is going
hope
to be taking
as
to do that.
a steering committee for the conservation restriction, and my understanding is that this group is supposed to be advocating for Bear Hole's best interests, right? Contributing in public input, that you would take these things underneath consideration moving ahead. I'm not saying you need to create, sit down with Chief Burke and say, this is what we're going to do, but you do what you do.
I guess what I'd say is, I think what Al's trying to do is, like, you got a limited amount of time. Are there
All
any
right.
plans, so, the fishing topic, that's the kind of feedback, like, how do people want to see this space used or not used? Obviously, ATVs are off the table because that's already prohibited. Maybe there's something else you want to see prohibited, or maybe there's something else you want to see allowed because you think it could be done effectively and managed well. And so that's some of the stuff we do need to provide in our town plan to DCR and Audubon and tell them, like, here's how we're going to use it. This is what we're going to allow or not allow.
I'm all for passive, obviously. I'm not, because less impact on the landscape. All for passive recreation. Hiking, dog walking. I don't have an issue with the mountain biking, but I was talking with a couple of people before this started today, concerns about the bike group sizes. I mean, I was going down Morgan Road this summer, and there must have been a group of like 50. If I wish I had one of those dashboard cams, and they would not move out of the road. And they look at you like you're the enemy. I'm like, this is a public road. Morgan Road and Bear Hole, right by the Turnpike underpass. Move. I've been in the Bear Hole Road parking lot where they just saturate that parking lot, and they stand right in front of me, and they don't move. I'm like, I talked to Chief Connor about that. He goes, you ever encountered that? He goes, you call it in. He goes, that's absolutely, that type of atmosphere, that passive aggressive, if you want to call it that, type of atmosphere, isn't allowed. So, I'm just keeping you apprised moving forward. Okay, yeah, bikes, but let's kind of like keep a leash on it a little bit, that's all.
Okay.
I'd like to see, as far as the habitat management, I mentioned trails going through sensitive area, including rattlesnake habitat, including wetlands habitat. Literally, like, right up to the edge where the water is, and that there's no public record as far as that going through any type of conservation commission approval. I don't think, and I'm all on board with you, we don't need more trails. We need to get control of what's out there. Fishing, I'm 100% on board with Heather with concerns about stuff being left behind, and maybe public education could help that. I am not pro fish and lug it out. I'm pro catch and release. I have no issue with high school or college students, for example. I'd rather see them out there spending time in the outdoors, doing a catch and release down at the reservoir than doing some of the other delinquent things that they do. But I am on board that we don't need to see styrofoam floating in the water. We don't need fishing line getting wrapped around the necks of Canadian geese. I would like to see something, this isn't with land use, but more towards probably land management with invasive species in the watershed, both in the forest and aquatic. Every summer, the reservoir, based on the air temperatures, the summer ambient temperatures, has an algae bloom. Lost Pond has some type of a very aggressive aquatic plant that takes over there, and there's an environmental fallout from that. So I'd like, maybe down the road to see some type of a program to try and get that under control. Cultural features, I see that on your list. All in all, I think people respect what's out there. And I don't want to beat a dead horse, but the mountain bikers pick apart stone walls out there and make ramps right through them without a care. To me, that's part of West Springfield history, and you don't mess with that. It needs to be controlled. You see a trail that's going through that, obviously probably illegal. We need to find a way to shut that down. We need to preserve what's out there. All in all, it's pretty good. There's a couple spots out there that needs a little TLC, but I'm just throwing that out there because it is on your list. Disturbance of cultural features. Finally, I'd like to see a little bit better emergency
You said finally,
access.
so here it is.
Yeah, this is it. This is the whole.
Okay.
This is the thing. You've been very good with me. So emergency access. You have the Bear Hole Road parking area, and then you have a new extension area. At the end of that, there is no vehicle access behind that. So if police or fire or EMS needs to get in there past that extension area, say it down, they call it Great Plains, they can't because there's all boulders. They would have to go all the way through to Morgan Road and go in the gate that way. I don't know what direction they usually come in when there is an incident, but and the same thing down at the end of Quarry Road, emergency access. Trevor at the DPW has mentioned a gate possibly forthcoming at the end of Quarry Road. I'm all for that. Maybe doing something at the end of the extension parking too to promote public safety access just in case to make it more user-friendly for them, okay? Thank you for being patient with me.
Yep. All right. Next up, I think it's Martha Mangini. Is that all right?
Hi, my name is Martha Mangini. I live on Forest Ridge Road, and I'm not here to talk specifically about the management plan. I'd just like to register my opposition to the discussion about Jensen property, all the land that was cut down for timber a little over a year ago, I believe. First morning, I heard the chainsaws out there, and I drove up Timber Ridge Road, and the logging trucks were coming in on the paper street off of Edgewood, and they cleared out, was it an acre of land possibly in there? Something like that. Just cut all the trees down. So homes on High Meadow, Forest Ridge, Timber Ridge are just, I mean, like, it's a sight. I don't know if you have been out there, but the neighborhood is really upset about that. Not only that, now the talk about the people, the timbering wasn't enough for them. Now they want to develop it. And they want to put a bridge at the end of Forest Ridge to join their property up there. And I don't know if you've ever been at the end of Forest Ridge. You look down, there's a hole. There's water. What's going to happen? Is this going to go through? Are they going to throw enough money at this with conservation or buy off whatever they have to do?
So what I'll say is, unfortunately, that is not germane to what this committee can do anything about. You know, whatever happens from a development standpoint has to, if it's in or near wetland areas, goes to conservation.
It's
Everything,
wetland in there.
everything goes to planning. So there, and those are the committees and the forums where those things get addressed. But it's not part of Bear Hole. It's private property and not something we can really
Okay.
do much
I mean,
about.
it abuts it and everything, it just,
Yeah.
and we were the first settlers there in '88. We picked out our lot. We were told, that's the end, Forest Ridge. Nothing will ever happen there. Paper Street, nothing will ever happen there. And here we are, 30-plus years later? Guess what? It's happening. So don't say it will never happen, because it happened. That's all I want to say.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Robert, you good? You don't want to speak? Okay, take you off the list. All right, next up we have Helen. Okay, that's fine. Jonathan Falsetti?
Hi. Thank you for having this forum. Happy to be here. My chief concern, or I guess a couple, but, so I hear a lot of talk about mountain biking. I come here to try and represent the local mountain biking community, not in any official sense. I'm a volunteer high school mountain bike coach, and the kinds of things that I'm hearing about not sharing the trails and right of way and rudeness, that's very unfortunate. It's definitely not what I teach my kids that I coach. We do have some large groups out there, and I know there's a couple bike shops that organize some rides and have large groups out there also, and I did see, I'm on the mailing list for the environmental committee, and I did see there was some concerns about like tailgating and drinking in the parking lot afterwards. Obviously, that's not my high school kids.
Sure hope not.
Well, and they're younger than that. We have kids all the way down to 7 years old, 4 different skill levels, and so, you know, we teach them the right things to do and how to behave and how to, you know, respect everybody that uses the trails. This may surprise some people, but I share concerns about the illegal trail building. Over the past 2 or 3 years, it has just exploded, and it's poorly done. I mean, there's local groups around here, New England Mountain Bike Association, PV NEMBA, Pioneer Valley New England Mountain Bike Association. There's some spin-off groups about that, and you know, we teach how to build trails in a sustainable, legal manner. They've done work with, you know, trail systems in Granby, Amherst, Earl's Trails up in the Notch. There's a way to do things, and there's a way to do things wrong. And unfortunately, it's really comes down to one individual who has been building trails for the past 2 or 3 years in Bear Hole. This person is just raking in trails wherever they want. No concern over trails that are already there. No concern over what the local mountain bike community has said to him to tell him to stop. And when you do tell him to stop and try to give him feedback, we'll call it, is how I initially approached him. Just like, hey, here's the reasons why you might want to consider collaborating with other people about your ideas instead of just going out there rogue and doing whatever you want. The person gets very aggressive, very defensive, aggressive, will start insulting you, and but if you were to ask him in a normal conversation, you know, would you like some feedback? They say yes, but then they don't. So I am also concerned about the amount of trails that are going in there. They crisscross there. It's really easy to get lost in there. I have had a good friend of mine who's a aerospace engineer got lost out there, and this person, when I told them about this, I'm like, hey, my buddy got lost out there. He goes, well, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out the trails. And I'm like, well, actually, you know, it might. So, you know, I don't want to ever see, I grew up riding Astor Reservoir and Bear Hole with my father. I'm from Hoyoke. I'm a West Springfield resident. And, you know, I would never want to see that kind of, I know that's not on the table, but I would never want to see this spiral out of control to reach that kind of level where it was not allowed. And if there's anything, you know, ever I can do to facilitate any kind of communication between groups, I'm more than happy to help. The only other thing I heard that I wasn't thinking about talking about when I got here was Todd mentioned ATVs. ATVs, dirt bikes, awful. I mean, just, you know, they ruin the trails. I know that's not on the table, obviously, but somehow you can't really enforce like them going in there. I mean, a dirt bike can squeeze through a little opening this big in a, you know, between rocks. I mean, it's really very difficult to enforce, but it's very detrimental to everything that's out there, the trails. And, you know, I think I haven't noticed as much. I've heard a lot of trash. I haven't noticed a lot of trash out there. There are a lot of, you know, areas deep in the woods that have been used as like mini landfills in the past, but I don't see that kind of stuff happening as much lately. So I think that's, you know, positive. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
All right, that takes us to the end of our list of speakers. Is there anyone else who'd like to say a piece? Any uses that you'd like to advocate for or against? Enhancements that you want to see happen? No?
I have one question.
Sure.
Do you plan to, I guess, build restrooms? There's always gonna be, if you're gonna make a parking lot, are you putting a restroom? I guess that's just a question.
Would you like to see a restroom put in? Okay,
I would like less.
okay. Fair enough.
But we couldn't build a restroom other than in the existing, like, water treatment facilities. We're limited to those buildings, so.
Can't
There
really,
won't be any new buildings, for sure.
yeah. Any construction would be limited to an informational kiosk kind of thing, like very basic, simple structures. No. Can't build. That's the whole point of the CR. All right?
I do have one question. Can I just stay here and ask it?
Sure, why not?
I live on Bear Hole Road, very close to the parking lot. And over the summer, someone had pitched a tent in Bear Hole. And they were there for about a week. And finally, the police went down there and got them out. Do you remember that?
Yes, I was a neighbor, and I absolutely corroborate that. That was, they were feet off of the main road, and they were there for at least a week.
They had chairs set up outside the tent.
And it was, I see there's some laughter, but it makes an awful lot of people uneasy.
No, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I was thinking of the people who are currently living on the gazebo in town at McWhite.
Okay, well, we're talking about Bear Hole, and I absolutely witnessed the same thing with my grandson down there. Made me nervous for him, etc. I know women, children are active participants in the passive recreation, and that is absolutely unacceptable.
And the other thing is, of course, speeding down Bear Hole. Because I guess you're in a rush to walk your dog or get to your bike trail. But they've talked about speed bumps in the past or something to slow the cars down because it is horrendous. We have wildlife that are hit by a car laying in the middle of the road. That's how fast they're going.
Thank you.
And not only that, I totally agree with that, because I live just a couple houses away. That road is very narrow going down the hill, around the corner, towards the parking lot. Where the first gate is, it's a very narrow corner. It's like I fear, like, if anybody ever comes up and someone's speeding down that road, hasn't happened yet, thank God, but it's a very dangerous corner. And people flying down there, to walk their dogs or to ride their bikes, you really have to go that fast. I don't know if you can do something about it. The speed bumps were brought up a couple of years ago, and maybe better signs, I don't know. Maybe cameras to pick up the speeding and give them a ticket, do digital reading, I don't know, something like that, but it's very bad, every day.
And there's a hill there. There's quite an incline.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
they're picking up speed and they don't slow down. And they're making that turn. It's bad.
And an additional question, sorry, a little script here, but trail cams in the parking lot, who monitors those?
I can't.
DPW has access to them, but we don't have anybody to monitor them 24/7.
Okay, and the reason I'm asking is, I mean, I think it's a welcome addition, because now, if you want to take this further, there's illegal activity happening in the parking lot throughout the evening, absolutely, without a doubt. And out of curiosity, those trail cams have been there for quite a while. In fact, one of them's laying on the ground, which was on top of the pole that they drove into and knocked it over. So the question is, it's all well and good if they're there, but if nothing's done with them ever, it's a useless activity at best.
one thing I was gonna say, one comment I had was I like seeing the officers in there on bicycles. It's nice when you're on a trail, you know, you're not just on the main road, but you see them out there on trails in more remote areas, and that's great. And that's a sweet job. But, so, what he was saying about the trail cams and illegal action going on at night, definitely, like Four Corners and even at the yellow gate before you make the turn to go under 91 to the Four Corners. There's sometimes people park there. I don't know what they're doing for patrols at night, you know, with cars, not bikes. But maybe if we can get them to do, you know, a couple more patrols per night, just drive through there once or twice more than they already are. I don't see a cruiser go through their whole, I can't remember the last time, maybe once in the past year, but granted, I'm not there 24/7, I'm sure they do go through there, but maybe they could increase that a little bit.
I would speak to that. We do see cruisers periodically, but it is very periodic. It's a drive down at 10 o'clock in the morning and drive out. That type of thing. The illegal activity inside the trails, I can't speak to that. I do walk through there, I ride a bike occasionally, you know, not an avid, hardcore biker, et cetera. I'm speaking of the access to the parking lot in that area. And, you know, for the most part, people are respectful of it. But there is an element, and in particular, there's no, you know, that parking lot doesn't close at any point in time. My son-in-law and my daughter are the last house on that street. And I grew up in that house. And I see illegal activity happens all night long. It happens all night long. Drug dealers absolutely are doing their business up there. Spoken with the police, et cetera. This may be something, I believe, for the master plan, because you're looking for recreational utilization, so I don't want to take this off track, but I think it's an important element of Bear Hole as a conservation area. Just the absolute access, the parking was a huge consideration. During COVID, which it was addressed, I met with Mayor Rakelt, who was fantastic and open to addressing the situation. Helen, it was horrible up there at that point. I mean, cars parked on both sides of the street all the way to the top of the hill. Done a great job with addressing the additional parking, the police addressing the illegal parking on the road, et cetera. So that's not an issue at this point.
It's good to hear it's gotten better.
It's gotten better. Absolutely, it's gotten better. With the additional parking, there could be additional signage, because a lot of people don't understand that you can drive in there and park. I have literally been up there where people have asked me, because I've been out from my house, what is that? And what are the allowable hours to park in? I'm like, it's open 24 hours a day, you can go in there. So there is a little additional sign that says Bear Hole parking, but it's not really identified too well. So again, sorry to take it off track.
No, the better signage is a good point. And, yeah, there will be, obviously, we've, you know, strayed into enforcement concerns and those things quite a bit tonight, and that's why there are two plans. You know, from the perspective of the folks who hold the CR, Audubon and DCR, you know, it is a concern for them, you know, their prerogative is, yeah, as a town, figure it out and stop it, and they'll do, you know, one of the things that they'll do is, it's an annual, you know, they do annual tours and assess, how are you managing this, you know, property that we paid to protect? So they'll provide feedback. It's just, you know, one more area that's a group will come through and look. Now, they'll address those things if they see ATV use or illegal activities or other concerns. They have an annual report. We'll also see that as well. From terms of the town plan, it's like they don't necessarily need to know how we're gonna figure that out, but we obviously need to figure it out. So that's why there will be the master plan where we'll start to figure out, you know, what do we need to do? You know, is it, collaborating with the police? Do we need a ranger program? You know, there's a lot of things could be on the table, and we'll have another one of these forums to get more of that in. The reason we're doing town plan first is because we have to get this submitted. We're on a timeline. We're actually a little late. So we do need to get our town plan, how we intend to see it used, and get that submitted. And that's a 5-year plan. So it's also something that can be revisited and reconsidered in terms of those uses. And then once we get that out the door, then we can focus in on the master plan and all those other things to really start to bring, you know, some robust administration to make sure that all the things we want to see and the things we don't want to see start to get addressed.
I'll leave with one addition, suggestion for the steering committee. Maybe a little bit more robust explanation of what these meetings are about going forward. Because I saw one initial very brief notification, Mr. Newman mentioned it, in an article which was unrelated to Bear Hall, which kind of piqued my interest, and then subsequently, I believe it was in last week's record, there was a little bit more information about the meeting. If you could make it a little bit more robust, a little bit clear as far as the objective of the meeting, and you probably can see that in folks going up there, not really knowing what is this meeting about, including myself. So, just a little suggestion for,
All right, gonna work on our promoting skills here.
well,
Get the message out.
not being negative, I'm just saying.
No, it's fair.
helpful.
Yeah, it's fair.
And for the record, my name's Lou Calabrese, and I live on Bear Hall.
Thank you. All right. All right, we're at an hour. We're getting some good feedback. I appreciate it. Looking around to see if there's any more hands flying up. All right. Thanks, everybody. This is great. Really appreciate it. I'm sure all the other members appreciate being able to take some notes, get some feedback. For the millions of viewers out there and for everyone else, there is an email that you can submit feedback to if you're a little shy, Kate.
It's Bear Hole Steering Committee, all one word, at townofwestspringfield.org, or you can do at TOWS.org. So everybody on the committee, as well as the mayor, myself, Mark, and Jay Court for the town will all get copies of whatever you send in.
Yep. So if you want to send any more feedback or any other things ongoing, please use it. That's what we're looking for.
What's your cycle? You said something was due, like you take tonight and then you do what with it? It goes where?
Yeah, so we'll take in feedback. We'll put together, we'll sort of write up the town plan, which has to get submitted to DCR and Audubon to approve, and that's the plan for the next 5 years. To be honest, I think we're supposed to submit it like 6 months ago, so we're a little late, but they're nice and they're being, they're working with us. You know, we're also doing things a little bit. I'll take another minute and just explain. We're doing things a little bit differently. And I asked this question of the folks who came from DCR and Audubon. How do most towns who get a conservation restriction like this on a big piece of property and want to manage it, how do they do it? Most towns just, it's just someone's job at town hall, like some city employee say, here you go, figure it out. So it's kind of a cool thing we're doing here. The mayor decided to get a group of residents together to advise and provide feedback. We're doing open meetings and things like that to get feedback. So we are taking a little bit of a longer road to do that plan, but I think it's good because you all get to have your voice heard, and that's what we're trying to do. So, but that is the next step. We have to submit that plan, and then they have to accept it. Todd?
Will that document, once it's finalized, what you're just talking about, now like what we're all feeding into for input tonight, will that be posted publicly once it's finalized?
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
I mean, it's a public record, so it'd be.
Where would it be posted, like on the town's website? Like, where would it be buried?
Probably on the website. I mean, and it's.
Like the Conservation Commission thing, or that's kind of like a gray area.
Yeah, we're actually like in the process of redoing the whole website to make it more user friendly. So hopefully it won't be buried anywhere. We're trying to get everything
Sometimes you have
unburied.
to like hunt for stuff.
Yes.
They're like, it's there. Okay, where?
Yeah. That's a complaint we get a lot, so we are working on it. We're overhauling the website. So it wouldn't be surprising if we had a Bear Hole dedicated page on there. and it would be there, and, except, people ask about the conservation, it's all public information, it's nothing we're trying to hide, so that'll be there, once we get to that point.
So you don't have to put in a Freedom of Information Act to see that, it'll be posted.
Yes, you won't have
Once
to,
it's ready.
you won't have to ask me for it, though.
Okay, gotcha.
Good question, though.
On that item, is there a copy of the final conservation restriction that's available? I was only able to find the draft online, which doesn't include the exhibits.
It's recorded in the registry, we can certainly put it on, I can find a place to put it on the website.
If you go to the Registry of Deeds, you should find it.
Give us your email, that's true too, so either way.
Yeah.
I have a copy of the whole thing. If you hook with me afterwards in your email, I'll send it to you. Great, I got it in Google Doc.
Okay, thank you.
It's like hundreds of pages.
Yeah, I was looking for it.
Yeah.
I'll look at it. On the
See if you
website,
have
there's a draft.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Conservation restriction isn't, you might talk about baseline documentation.
That was
Conservation,
the actual final, I think you may have sent it to me, I don't remember. The actual final, I think it's like hundreds of pages long. It gives like the baseline.
no,
That's the
you're talking
baseline
about
document.
The conservation restriction's only, I think, like
I've got a
50.
couple different documents.
Yeah, Hamden County Registry of Deeds, you'll find it.
Looking for a little easier access.
Okay,
I'll send you an email.
Mark will get it to you.
Full-time job.
And so just, you decide that, right?
I'll publish it.
All right,
It's a massive file, most people can't download.
everyone good? All right, meeting adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Everybody.